Welcome to Spotlight New England. I'm one of your hosts, Audrey McClelland.
And I am Ashley Erling.
I feel like if people heard our conversations right before we came on, that's like the real story. We're talking about shopping. I feel like that's one of our favorite topics to talk about.
It's actually definitely one of our favorite because we're always like all over the place, you know, so we're popping into different places here, different places there. Yes. You're like a really big online shopper, so you're great at sharing deals and like who like has a sale right now.
What's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
But you were just saying that you were in Newport and you were at Pink Pineapple.
Yep.
And that's a place I haven't been in a really long time. You said it was great.
Staple. It was fabulous. They had so much. They were also having a buy one, get one 50% off sale.
Which basically in our terms mean we must use it.
Well, when you do the math out, which I can't do. It's a lot less, and then if you put in the cost per wear, which
so if you buy one, you got 50% off the second one?
Which I also can't do, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Give me a second.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a good deal.
But, yeah, it's just one of those stores that is such a great Newport store.
It's a good staple.
That has been there. And they have one in Wakefield as well, but I don't get down to Wakefield all that much. But I was like...
I got to hop in there. I haven't been there in so long.
Also, I will say on Thames Street in general in Newport, which like this is news to no one, but like sometimes when you live somewhere, you don't always get to these places.
No,
so,
you're
like,
right.
We live here. How often do I get to Newport to just spend, you know, an undetermined amount of time shopping?
Right.
Almost never.
Never.
I'm usually there for a specific reason, a specific event, a specific shoot we have
you're
or
in and
something
out.
like that. So if you ever are like walking up and down the street of Thames Street, the only street that everybody knows
in Newport,
there are so many stores.
Yeah.
Dress stores. Like,
I have to get back there.
Clothing stores. Like, I'm looking and I didn't even have time yesterday. I just happened to like pop into one that I was nearby. There are so many great stores.
There really are, and they really are all over Rhode Island. And I recently just popped into Beau Blue Boutique, which is over in Bristol, Rhode Island. Yeah. Another great spot for dresses and cardigans and sweaters and all things really New England. So take a peek as the owner, Nikki, really brought me through what she has right now in store. At Beau Blue Boutique and Gifts in Bristol, Rhode Island, and we are walking around with Nikki just to give us a little bit of a tour throughout the boutique. So Nikki, bring me through. You know this is one of my favorite spots.
Oh, thank you so much, Audrey. So this little area, we kind of have all different kinds of summer sandals and comfortable shoes. We have pocketbooks and really focusing, obviously this time of year, we are ready to roll for the 4th of July.
Yes. Look at this.
So we got our flag hats. We have these fabulous custom designed t-shirts. That this is the only place you can get them here.
Oh my God. I mean, Bristol, Rhode Island, right?
Yeah, we are. Fireworks, flags, and floats.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So if you are looking for something to wear for the 4th of July, you definitely have to make sure you head over to Beau Blue. But not only that, you not only have these fun t-shirts, but I was looking over here too when I first came in to my left. I'm going to show you in a second. Look at these amazing dresses. You have something for everyone.
We really try to think of all different occasions that people will be looking for, from casual to wedding guests, and try to cover all the bases and be a kind of a one-stop shop for everyone.
I mean, when you walk into, you definitely feel that feel. And I'm going to show, I mean, everybody knows that watches the road show that we love any roadie stuff. And so this is where I get all of my roadie wear here. These sweaters are so great.
Yes, that was one of, we had a sweater that said roadie on the front and had the red, white, and blue stripes down the back, but that sold out.
But that, of course it's sold out. It's Bristol. It's Bristol, Rhode Island.
Yes.
So make sure you head to Beau Blue. They have everything, gifts, clothing. If you want to just pop in just to peek around, you literally have something for everybody in here.
Thank you so much.
I love the vibe.
We try to keep it fun in here.
I'm going to spin over here. Look at how good this looks. And here is the front. There's her logo. Make sure you stop in. Nikki, you're the best. Thanks for giving me a little tour. I have to say, not only do they have really great clothing, they had this one thing called Nude Beach Spraying Lotion.
What is that?
And it's basically a spray, but it leaves on your skin like a lotion.
Okay.
And it smelled so good. And she said that their Newport location that they have is selling out like crazy.
Is it just lotion?
It's lotion.
Oh, okay.
You spray it on. You spray it on. And that she said that's one of her best sellers right now.
Oh, that is good to know.
But again, so many great boutiques in our state. Make sure you pop in, support local businesses.
I needed everything everything in that. And, 4th of July, again, like,
it's your birthday.
It is. But, like, I just, red, white, and blue stuff all summer long, I feel like is such a, like, summertime staple.
Yes.
Like,
that flag dress I saw looked like you.
Every single red, white, and blue thing in there, I was like, yes.
And even
yes,
the American flag tote that they had, I actually like zoomed up on that because I thought of you immediately when I saw it.
It's very, very different stuff. And Bristol, of course, that's the place.
It's the place to go for the 4th of July. But stick around because we have a fun interview coming up next with a author that we both love and really still is just bringing in that New England vibe. Stick around.
Well, there is just something about a summertime beach read, and one of this season's It books, actually inspired a little bit by Great Gatsby, takes place on Block Island, Mansion Beach, and we are lucky enough to have the author Meg Mitchell-Moore here with us today. Welcome, Meg.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We're very thrilled to have you. Audrey and I really enjoy meeting authors of books that we love and are enjoying, but especially ones who are based here in New England with us. And this couldn't be better because it's also based in New England like you and in Block Island specifically, which is so cool.
Yeah, Rhode Island is dear to my heart. I went to Providence College, go Friars.
Oh, yeah.
So I have always loved it here, but all those years at college and a little time after, I never went to Block Island. So it was pretty recently that I discovered it, and what a gem. And it's just the perfect place to set a book. So this is the 3rd novel that I've set there.
I feel like, too, that it's such a Rhode Islander thing to say because I'm a lifelong Rhode Islander. I've only been to Block Island once.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so I'm not alone.
Yes, you're definitely not alone. But Block Island, there is an allure to it, and there is this, like, obviously it's a beautiful place to go, but I love knowing that it's set there. And I have to say, Ashley said this is going to be the book of the summer.
I really do.
I
feel
she
like
did say it.
This is absolutely, it's getting a lot of great praise already, by authors that I love. Christy Harvey Woodson, I know, is one of them that wrote a blurb, and J. Courtney Sullivan, another one. So, to have other authors of that caliber, I mean, you've written 9 books. You're not new to this, certainly, but how does it feel when you're now getting this caliber of people who are kind of in your circle with you?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a very slow build. My first novel came out in 2011, so I'm for sure not an overnight sensation, which has been good. So I feel like I can look back and say, where was I when I first started and where am I now? And it's been a ride, but not every book does well. You have the books that you think will do well and don't, and you have the books that sort of surprise you. So this book is still pretty new. I don't know what will happen with it, but if you say it's the book of the summer,
I feel like it is. I definitely
Yeah.
feel like it is. And it's always really fun to read about a place that you are familiar with.
Yeah.
It's also fun to read about a place that you've never been, and it transports you there. But, I've started to read this, and I love being able to kind of know some of the spots that you're talking about. Of course, the title itself, Mansion Beach, is a beach over there. So I love that New England tie-in, and I feel like New England summer, even though obviously it's always been here, it's almost like trendy right now to be like a New Englander.
Right.
Do you feel that way?
I think so. I think Ellen Hildebrand writing her Nantucket novels is the queen of all of this, and I think her success has really paved the way for a lot of other authors who write summer books set in New England. So I think that's part of it. I think it's also just we wait so long for summer in New England.
Do.
So when we get it, we want to really celebrate it. I mean, I love a lot of books set in the South too, but they don't have to wait as long.
Yeah.
So I think it's really
year-round.
Something special here, and you're waiting, and then all of a sudden it's 100 degrees, and you didn't want it to be. But I think there's something special about a New England summer. It's brief and it's beautiful, and we have to celebrate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Like, where did the idea for you, for Mansion Beach, come from? Like, where does it start for you?
Every book is different. This book started with The Great Gatsby itself, and I was thinking that it was going to be 100 years since it had been published, and I was curious about if some of those themes are still relevant today. So I wanted to take that question. I wanted to flip the genders and have it be a women-centric story and set it in contemporary times. And The Great Gatsby, of course, is set on Long Island, but I'm not familiar with Long Island, so I thought, where can I set it that it would make sense for me to write? And Block Island was the perfect setting
spot
to go back to. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I know it's really, we started to talk about it a little bit in our interview earlier today on the Road Show. I love The Great Gatsby. I feel like it's just, the book is great. The movies are great. It's a story you can always kind of go back to and find relation to, like you were saying, with the themes. And, in Rhode Island specifically, I think it's always kind of topical too, because because part of it was filmed here at Rosecliff Mansion in Newport. Right. So I always kind of think of it as local, even though it's Long Island. In a way, actually, the Mansions are having a lecture in a couple of weeks, and Sam Waterston is coming to speak about the movie and the making of the movie and all that. So I love that you kind of like pulled from that as your inspiration for it, but then, you know, like you said, dug a little bit more into the female characters instead.
Right. I think it was exactly. I think the important thing was that I didn't want to retell the same story.
Right.
And some books do retell a classic, and those can be done really well too. But I wanted to do something different with it. And I think the more drafts I went through, I think in the beginning I was a little bit tied to The Great Gatsby, and I was sort of trying to recreate some scenes, and it was really it didn't work. It just didn't work. And I remember my editor saying, "You have to free yourself from the constraints of the book, of the other book, and you're writing your own story." And then I realized, oh yeah, I'm writing my own story. It's just kind of inspired by this.
Right. It's like a
It
nod
makes
to
sense.
it.
It makes sense. And like, you know, we've been lucky enough to have other authors on, and the one thing that Ashley and I love hearing too is like the writing process.
Right.
Like, and everyone's different. Everyone has their own way of doing it. But like when you from the first inkling that, okay, listen, like this is going to be the story, I want to have this be my inspiration, to now like actually holding it in your hands, what is kind of your process? Do you have like a word count you want to hit every day? Do you write every day?
I am a word count girl. I know every author is different. I write every weekday usually when I'm working on a draft. I don't typically write in the weekends. I can't write at night because I get too tired. My brain
I'm actually the same way. I don't really, I mean, I'm not like a writer like you are, but I am just great in the morning.
Yeah, well, you guys are morning people.
That's
You're
your
up.
time.
You have to be up early. Yeah, I'm the same way. I wake up early, and that's when my brain is fresh. So I usually have a word count I'm trying to hit when I write. When I'm writing a draft, usually between 1,000 and 1,500 words. And then when I get closer and there's a deadline, I might have to redo the math. And then when I'm rewriting, it's a little bit of a different schedule. But for the most part, I just kind of get it out there. It's a really bad first draft, always. And it's usually a pretty bad second draft, and I just keep redoing it until I get a little closer and a little closer.
A little closer, a little closer.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you start off with like, do you know exactly at the beginning where you're going to go at the end? Like, do you know the exact flow of the book?
No, I don't. I almost never do. Sometimes I know the ending. Sometimes I know a crucial scene. There's a scene that I won't talk about because you guys haven't finished it yet, but there's a scene between two of the female characters that, well, you'll know when you get to it because it takes place on Mohegan Bluffs and Block Island. And that scene I wrote early, and I remember thinking I'm working toward these two characters having this conversation, but it took a really long time to get there. And that's not the end of the book. So I kind of knew I was working toward that, and then I had to finish it. But I'm really messy
it just kind of flows when it flows.
Yeah, I wish I was tidier with it, but
I actually like that. I feel like that's how I would be. Like,
yes,
you kind of are like getting to know your characters at the same time, and maybe like seeing where they're going to end up. And like, it's kind of a story for you too, which I think is, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that sounds kind of fun.
I guess. Yeah. It's interesting. It definitely keeps it interesting. Yeah.
I love it. Do you have like sticky notes everywhere with different, like, you know,
I should. I see people,
like
and I don't, I'm not an outliner, and I see people's sticky notes and their beautiful outlines written all over their office walls, and I would like that, but I have never, my brain doesn't work that way. I wish it did.
I love it how different it is.
I know, it is. It always is.
Everybody is different.
Yeah.
We are talking about the beautiful cover, which I just love. We all love. Of course, it's like Scream Summer, but there's like little hidden gems with like the martini that fell over next to the pool. How does that process work? You know, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Did you write the book and then you're like, okay, what would make sense for a cover? Is it you actually coming up with it, or?
It's the publisher, and the title in particular. You need the title before you can work on the cover. So this title took a while. I mean, Mansion Beach is a beach on Block Island, but this was not the first title. We had so many titles. I really wanted the title Careless People, because that's a callback to The Great Gatsby, and it speaks to some of what goes on. And then this book about the Facebook, I don't know if anybody's read this book, Careless People, by the Facebook, somebody who was an insider at Facebook wrote a nonfiction book.
Okay.
Oh, no.
With that title that just came out, and it was a kind of a secret. It was embargoed until it came out, because it has all these Facebook secrets. So if we'd had that title, it would have been a disaster.
Nope. Right.
So I really wanted that, and the publisher didn't want it for other reasons, but it would have been a disaster. So it took a while even to come up with Mansion Beach. And in fact, that was not my title. The publishers eventually came up with that. We tried so many combinations of wealthy and rich and class and privilege and beach and summer, and you just sort of try to figure it out. And then somebody hit on that, and it was perfect. So
yeah, it is, because obviously it's a beach that's there, but then the mansion in the wild, and beach, summer, all that. Like it works. It all works together. It kind of pulls from all the different themes that are in the book.
Right. So once they had the title, then they give it to a designer to work on the cover, and I think they were pretty close. I mean, I'm sure things happened behind the scenes that I didn't know, but they were pretty close by the time I saw it, pretty close to what the cover is.
And do you get so excited when you know you're going to get maybe like the email or like with what it will look like?
I get a little nervous. Because
what if you don't like it?
And you can say, I can say I don't like it. Yeah. It's in my contract that I can say that. But you don't want to. You want to like it, and then they really want you to like it. So they're generally saying, I hope you really love your cover. Here it is. But there's been other books that we've had to go back and forth a few more times, but this one was really close.
It's a great cover. It really is.
Yeah. So let's talk about Block Island. I know you had the tough job of researching.
It's really rough.
Tell us about your research at Block Island. I was going to say, I think most people know that mudslides are synonymous with Block Island, but like joking but not joking, like did you go around and test? Because I would.
Yeah, I mean they're so good.
They are so good.
I did test the mudslides several different places. I have written. This is my third novel set there. So the first novel I did not know Block Island at all. So I was starting from scratch, getting to know it with a few different visits. I went once in the winter and stayed for 4 days or so, just writing and exploring. I went for some day trips, maybe a couple overnights. So by the time I was finished with that book, which is called The Islanders and came out in 2019, I had a pretty good idea. But even then, I set my 2023 novel Summer Stage there, and I had to go back again. There were things I didn't.
Things do change. I mean, it's a small island, but things do change.
Exactly. Yeah. So I did more research. But people on the island that I asked were very helpful to me. And in this book in particular, I really needed more help because I have a character who works for the Block Island Maritime Institute she's an intern. But that was a world I wasn't familiar with, and that's an actual place. And so I had a wonderful person who helped me with all those details about what she would be doing in her job and what would the challenges be and what if a seal washes up and just all these things. So she was really helpful. I had an architect who was really helpful to me with there's a bunch of things about development on the island. So he helped me with all that. So I definitely reach out to people when I don't know, because I don't know most.
Right, and you want it to seem authentic.
Right. Yeah. Right. You don't want to get it wrong when it's a place that people live.
Yeah.
Thousand people live there year round. So I try to honor that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love those like research trips. That must be so cool though, to be there and to be doing research and writing even at night, to be there for 4 days in the winter.
Right.
And even like the winter season when really the island is just, I would think at that point, islanders.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's nothing. I think there was maybe one restaurant open one day a week.
I was going to say that island particularly really does shut down when it's the off season. Yeah. It's not quite like, the Vineyard or Nantucket. Right. It really does become just that small group of year-rounders who are, and they're very, they
love that island. Very protective.
They love it. It's almost like a different way of life in the off season.
Absolutely.
It is for sure. And I'm sure they love it in the winter and they sometimes hate the summer. And then they also, but you need the tourists.
Yin and yang.
I love places that have a year-round population and a summer population. Yeah. I'm so interested in that.
Me too.
Dynamic.
I just think it's so cool and unique, and it sparks your imagination.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
What made you want to get into writing anyway? You said your first book was 2011.
My first novel was 2011. I've always written for a living. I did nonfiction writing for a long time. Okay. I worked for magazines. Okay. I was an English major, so I've always been in that world. I got a master's degree in English literature thinking I wanted to be a college professor, but turned out I didn't want to go that route. So then I worked for magazines and did editing and writing, and then I eventually got around to the fiction. So
I love it.
Here I am.
Before we let you go, you're a New England girl. So, you're kind of, a lot of your novels are somewhat inspired by New England and take place in New England. So what's on your kind of like New England summer list that you want to do this summer? Do you go all over? Are there a couple of things you always just have to do every summer?
Yeah, that's a great question. I need to finish the book I'm working on so I can do some of the things. But I do love to go to Block Island. I'm going there to visit their bookstore in July, so that'll be fun. And we have beautiful beaches up in Massachusetts and on the seacoast of New Hampshire. So I spend a lot of time, that's usually our go-to, is those beaches up there. I love Maine as well, and we're close to southern Maine. So a lobster roll every year, at least one in Maine, but hopefully more. And then a trip up the coast in Maine is usually on my list.
Yeah. And, you know, being in this area is so great because you can drive to all those different places.
Yeah,
and,
it's all really accessible.
Only, you know, a
So
day,
easy.
a couple days, all of that. So.
Oh, so
Well,
lovely
thank
having
you so
on
much
with
for
us.
joining us and taking
Thank
the time
you.
telling us about your book, Mansion Beach, which
Thanks
is
for having me.
out now
great.
and is fantastic. So make sure you pick up your copy and stick around because we have more coming up after the break. Welcome back to Spotlight New England. Well, we are in, I guess you would call it the throes of summer now, right?
Yeah, we are. Definitely. Right, we're here.
So Yankee Magazine, who we love,
Yeah,
and
we love them.
we've had them on already on Spotlight New England. I'm sure we'll have them on again as well. But their latest issue is tackling what they're calling the hottest summer debate,
Oof.
which is lake or ocean. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think, first of all, I don't think do we even have a lot
So
of
I
lakes?
was going to say, specifically for Rhode Island, there are not very many lakes.
I mean-
and I know because we were actually, Josh and I were looking for property on a lake at one
Okay.
point when we were kind of looking around because we both grew up on a lake.
Oh, so that's what you guys
And we were
wanted.
like, it would be so great to like live on a lake. Because like we
Yes.
both love that. Like we want to have a boat, but like a lake boat, not an ocean boat.
Right.
But there really aren't any real lake properties.
There really aren't a lot here, huh?
Not a lot. There are a handful. But that's why I think that in Rhode Island specifically, maybe people can't, and there's no big one. You know?
there's no big one at all.
So,
No.
but when you start to travel up more into New
Oh.
England or down into
Yeah.
Connecticut, which is where I am from originally, there are a lot of lakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, you know, that's kind of like, you're talking pontoon boats, you're talking
Yes.
water skiing.
Yes.
You know, all that
All the
stuff.
fun stuff.
So that's lake life. Ocean life is pretty different.
Ocean life is very different because I mean I grew up going to Maine, a place called Rangeley, Maine, and
You were telling me about this.
yeah, they had the Rangeley Lakes, and
Yeah.
it's just the most gorgeous, beautiful lakes like that. Really, New England has to offer. I mean, it's
Yeah.
exactly what you would think when you think of like New England lakes.
Yeah.
and you do all the fun stuff on them.
Yeah.
But you are right; it's very different from like
Very different.
ocean.
Because
life.
I would more go swimming. If I just wanted to go swimming, I would go to an ocean.
Exactly.
If I wanted to like do something recreational, I would go to a
You're
lake
doing the lake.
because it's more manageable.
Because you're right too. Because even like the kind of like I can't believe I'm saying this like vessel boat that you're gonna have, they are very different for each one.
Super different. I can drive a lake boat, no problem. Grew up doing
See,
it,
I feel
love
like
it.
I've never done it, but I feel like I'd be better at
I
it.
can pull people water skiing.
Can you?
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Oh,
We
I
did it
love
all the
it.
time. But I would never say that I could drive a boat in the ocean.
Have you ever driven a boat in the ocean yet?
No, I mean I've
Because it's. I mean,
I've
it can be very
held onto
choppy.
a steering wheel with a captain near me.
Yeah, and that's about it. So I've been on the ocean more than a lake.
Yeah.
just like from being
Yeah.
around here, and the ocean does scare me. I mean,
It
I'm gonna
does.
be
No,
honest with
I
you.
agree because it's so vast.
It is, and it can be super deep, which
Yeah.
always like kind of like, and we're
you-
all swimmers. We both know how to swim.
This is why we know, Audrey, because I always thought that people think that you could just go swim in an ocean.
Oh, no.
It is so dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. And even if you do, and you're strong swimmers like we are.
Right. You could still really be like up a creek.
Currents.
Like literally.
Currents. But I'm going to throw one other thing in there now.
Okay.
River life.
Okay, so river life is more like where my husband grew up in Pittsburgh.
I see.
Those
I'm
are all
into the
rivers.
river life
'cause
up
they're
in
New
New Hampshire.
Yes.
So I'm going to add to the debate.
So wait, what do you prefer? River?
I don't even know anymore. I have to say I love them all for different reasons. But you can pick up the latest copy
It is a
of
debate.
Yankee
Look at us.
Magazine.
We can talk about this.
And decide for yourself what you like best. Thank you so much for joining us today on Spotlight New England, and we will see you next time.